The Silver Age gave Marvel some of its most imaginative heroes and villains, characters who headlined comics, shaped early storylines, and helped build the Marvel Universe itself. But when the industry evolved and new eras began, not all of them survived the transition. Some couldn't adapt to darker storytelling, others were quietly replaced, rewritten, or simply forgotten as new heroes took the spotlight. They weren't failures, they were relics of a different time. So which Silver Age Marvel characters never truly made it into the next era? Here are 10 icons left behind by history. At number 10 is the original Ghost Rider. Carter Slade is the ultimate example of a hero whose very name was taken from him. Created by Roy Thomas, Dick Ayers, and Gary Friedrich in 1967, Slade headlined his own series and was heavily pushed as Marvel Comics' own premier Western superhero hybrid. While a blended version of him was played by Sam Elliott in the 2007 movie, his original comic concept was striking: a glowing, horseback-riding cowboy vigilante who used trickery to appear genuinely supernatural. During the Silver Age, he truly mattered. But then the era shifted. The 1970s brought the Bronze Age supernatural boom, and Marvel suddenly demanded real demons and gritty anti-heroes instead of clever cowboys. The character began to fade fast. In 1972, Johnny Blaze debuted as the new demonic Ghost Rider. To clear the way, Marvel literally renamed Carter Slade to Knight Rider, and eventually Phantom Rider, just to strip his title away. Today, the original Ghost Rider is nothing more than a minor trivia question for comic book fans. He exists purely as an obscure relic, completely erased and overshadowed by his modern-era publishing successor. At number 9 is Mimic. Calvin Rankin, better known as Mimic, was the very first outsider to ever break into the X-Men. Created by Stan Lee and Werner Roth in 1966, Mimic wasn't just another forgotten Silver Age villain. For decades, his narrative importance hinged on being a human who officially joined the team, even serving as their deputy leader for a brief period. His core concept made him a formidable, arrogant powerhouse, capable of copying the combined abilities of all 5 original X-Men simultaneously. But then, the Marvel landscape experienced a massive era shift. The legendary release of giant-size X-Men completely revamped the franchise, introducing an iconic cast of genuine mutants. Suddenly, there was absolutely no room for an abrasive outsider who simply mimicked powers. His decline was swift and brutal. He lost his abilities, fell into a coma, and was written out of the main books for decades. Though a 2019 retcon eventually classified him as a mutant, the damage was already done. Today, the original main universe Mimic is largely ignored and entirely replaced by modern power copiers like Rogue or Hope Summers in the comics. At number 8 is the Swordsman. Jacques Duquesne is the perfect example of an Avenger who simply couldn't keep up with escalating cosmic threats. Debuting in the Avengers issue 19 in 1965, created by Stan Lee and Don Heck, he was a major player during Marvel's Silver Age. He started as Hawkeye's villainous mentor before achieving his dream of becoming a full-fledged Avenger. His concept was fascinating: a swashbuckling rogue seeking redemption, armed with a trick sword modified by the Mandarin. However, a massive era shift doomed him. As the Avengers transitioned into the Bronze Age, their scale became massively cosmic, battling titans like Thanos and Korvac. Suddenly, a guy swinging a sword felt incredibly quaint. His decline was marked by profound struggles, with feelings of complete uselessness on the team before he was tragically killed off in Giant-Size Avengers number 2. While the MCU recently brought a living version of him into the Hawkeye Disney Plus show, the comic book Swordsman remains dead and locked in the past. At number 7 is Dr. Druid. Dr. Druid, or Anthony Ludgate, is actually Marvel's very first hero of the Silver Age, though he remains entirely overshadowed today. Debuting in Amazing Adventures number 1 in 1961, predating even Fantastic Four number 1, he was Marvel's initial test run for the mystical hero archetype during the monster book era. His character concept introduced an occult explorer, psychiatrist, and telepath with deep ties to ancient magic. Despite this early importance, an era shift doomed his legacy. Just 2 years later, Doctor Strange debuted, executing the exact same mystical concept, but with vastly superior visuals and expansive mythology. This immediately triggered Dr. Druid's steep decline, rendering him entirely redundant within the Marvel Universe. Although he was brought back in the 1980s as a fully fledged Avenger, it was only to be written as an arrogant pawn who nearly destroyed the entire superhero team. In his modern status, Dr. Druid is completely forgotten by readers and largely treated as a running joke within Marvel's magical community. At number 6 is Two Gun Kid. Matt Hawk, the Two Gun Kid, is the tragic tale of a cowboy who literally time-traveled right out of relevance. Making his Silver Age debut in Two Gun Kid issue number 60 in 1962, he was the undeniable anchor of Marvel's booming Western comic line. His visibility was so massive during this era that writers actually brought him into the present day just to join the Avengers. His character concept was classic pulp fiction, a masked lawyer turned cowboy vigilante fighting for justice. However, a massive era shift destroyed his publishing momentum. The comic book Western genre died entirely as the Bronze Age took over. His decline was inevitable. He eventually lost his ongoing solo series in 1977. Marvel realized he simply didn't fit modern superhero team dynamics and unceremoniously sent him back to the 1800s. In terms of his modern status, the Two Gun Kid is barely remembered today by readers outside of a few incredibly deep-cut and highly obscure time travel story arcs in standard Marvel continuity. At number 5 is Stingray. Walter Newell, Stingray, is the tragic definition of a perpetual background extra. Making his first appearance in Tales to Astonish Edge issue 95 in 1967, created by Roy Thomas and Bill Everett, he possessed genuine Silver Age importance. He was a vital supporting hero in Namor's solo stories and a frequent, reliable ally to both the Mighty Avengers and the Defenders. His character concept was fascinating for the time, a brilliant engineer and oceanographer fighting evil in a high-tech manta ray-inspired battlesuit. However, an undeniable era shift ruined his trajectory. Marvel gradually shifted completely away from aquatic-centric solo comic books. Furthermore, as Iron Man's armors became infinitely more advanced, Stingray's tech lost all of its futuristic novelty. His decline was slow but absolute. He became the guy writers only called when a superhero team desperately needed an underwater base or a submarine. In his modern status, Stingray rarely gets character arcs anymore and was recently used just to be comically beaten up by Deadpool. At number 4 is Khazar. Kevin Plunder, better known as Khazar, is the Jungle King who lost his primary spotlight. Making his first appearance in the X-Men issue 10 in 1965, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, he was massively visible during his prime. His Silver Age importance cannot be overstated. He anchored the Astonishing Tales series and was a mandatory team-up for nearly every major hero visiting the Savage Land. His character concept was essentially a fierce Tarzan, the loincloth-wearing protector of a hidden prehistoric jungle filled with dinosaurs. However, an undeniable era shift absolutely devastated his relevance. The classic pulp jungle hero trope fell completely out of fashion. Modern comic readers desperately wanted science fiction, urban grit, or mutants. His decline was inevitable, his solo series failed to catch on in modern markets, and his appearances sharply declined as the Savage Land became just a backdrop for X-Men events. In his modern status, Khazar is entirely era-locked. He occasionally cameos, but is removed from core superhero relevance. But the final 3 entries are even harsher. They were systematically erased from modern continuity, including the ultimate sidekick who founded the Avengers, only to be completely abandoned. At number 3 is Triton. Triton is the tragic example of an Inhuman left entirely on the cutting room floor. Making his first appearance in Fantastic Four, issue 45 in 1965, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, he possessed immense Silver Age importance. Triton was actually the primary scout and the initial face of the Inhumans when they were first introduced to the Fantastic Four. His character concept was completely unique, an aquatic Inhuman who strictly required water to breathe, acting as the royal family's trusted scout. However, a massive era shift destroyed his narrative momentum. As Inhuman lore rapidly expanded, modern writers focused heavily on the regal drama of Black Bolt and Medusa, or the creation of new humans. His decline was absolute. His sheer inability to survive outside water made him incredibly cumbersome to write into standard terrestrial stories, pushing him to the extreme background. Outside of an appearance in the terrible 2017 Inhumans live-action TV show that Marvel tried to sweep under the rug, Triton is lucky to get a single line of dialogue, completely overshadowed by his famous royal family today. At number 2 is Rick Jones. Rick Jones is the ultimate sidekick that the comic book industry simply outgrew. Making his first appearance in The Incredible Hulk, issue 1 in 1962, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, he possessed unmatched Silver Age importance. Rick was the absolute linchpin of the era. He actively formed the Avengers, served as Captain America's official partner, and was even cosmically bonded to Captain Marvel. His character concept was brilliant. The everyday teenage proxy who grounded the mighty gods and monsters of the Marvel Universe. However, a massive era shift completely destroyed his narrative purpose. Modern comic storytelling entirely outgrew the classic, helpless teen sidekick trope. His decline was inevitable and sad. Writers simply did not know what to do with him as an adult, resorting to turning him into various monsters like A-Bomb just to give him a cheap gimmick. In his modern status, stripped of his classic heart of the Marvel Universe identity, he is functionally absent from the modern superhero dynamic today. And despite his massive comic history, the MCU completely erased him from the movies entirely. At number 1 is Red Wolf. Will Talltree's The Original Red Wolf is the tragic definition of a trailblazer completely abandoned by continuity. Making his first appearance in the Avengers issue 80 in 1970, created by Roy Thomas and John Buscema, he possessed undeniable Silver Age importance. Debuting right at the end of the era, he proudly stood as one of Marvel's first Native American superheroes. He was heavily promoted and quickly given his own solo series. His character concept was striking. A modern-day warrior blessed with a deep mystical connection to a powerful wolf spirit. However, a massive era shift absolutely derailed his promising trajectory. The incoming Bronze Age demanded highly serialized, interconnected stories, and writers struggled to integrate him into the broader superhero landscape outside of standard Western tropes. His decline was unfortunately swift. His solo series was canceled quickly, relegating him to brief, sporadic cameos on secondary teams like the Rangers. Today, his modern status is non-existent. Marvel recently rebooted the mantle entirely using an alternate universe version, leaving him erased. The Silver Age moved on, but these heroes stayed behind. Which forgotten Marvel icon deserved another era? Comment down below and press the subscribe button and bell icon for regular updates.